Hi guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to the desktop for another rules breakdown. And this week I'd like to cover the Usagi Yojimbo Roleplaying Game. Now this is the 1997 version by Gold Rush Games. And it uses the Fuzion system, which was popular around the time. It was used in a few role-playing games, not hundreds and hundreds, but a few, just before D20 came out and absolutely dominated the market. Now, the Fuzion system's quite flexible and has gone out of favour these days. But it's an interesting system with some quirks, which is why I'd like to cover it today, and covering the Usagi Yojimbo role-playing game will help you in the other games which support it. Now, Usagi Yojimbo itself is based on the comics of the same name, which are about a samurai rabbit. Now, while this may appear to be very kiddie stuff, a samurai rabbit is very Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it is far more adult in its nature because it's telling serious stories just with anthropomorphic animals in the human roles. So while you might have a samurai rabbit and his foxy girlfriend and a snake villain here, the stories themselves are pretty serious. And somehow the use of animals actually, to me, makes it hammer home harder, because there's a particular scene that's always stuck in my mind where a bear character gets tortured to death. And until you see a bear getting speared across his body with 2 spears and dying in massive pain, it somehow makes you feel even worse than if it had been a human. I guess I'm just weird that way, but that's how it affected me. Now, Usagi Yojimbo's been around for decades. I've been reading it since I was a teenager. They are fabulous stories. They teach a lot of Japanese mythology. I've always been surprised when I've been reading about, for example, the Grass Cutter storyline, where Usagi gets hold of one of the swords of the gods. And when you read up on the background of it, it's actually based on the real Japanese mythology. So while it's a cartoon rabbit, it's teaching real-world stuff, or real-world mythology. I find that absolutely fascinating. But let's have a look at the rules. Now, skills in Usagi Yojimbo are rolled against a target number, and very usefully, if we have a look at the skills themselves, here's some here, we can see that most of them have target numbers included. So we've got games mental here, and we've got some tasks. Win a small sum at a night of dice, task number 14. Hard, win a large sum on a single chance wager, 18. Really hard, beat a Zen master at a game of Go, 22. Mega hard, bet your life against incredible odds, 26. So we've got a target number we roll against. And if we look at one of the sample characters, let's flip back. So here we go with some characters. Let's have a go at Jotaro, who is quite possibly Usagi's son in the storyline. Now, Jotaro is a rabbit. He's got physical, mental, combat, movement, his hits, and his defense. And he's got skills of acrobatics 1 and mushroom hunting 3. So if he was trying to do a great leap, then that would be a physical plus acrobatics roll. So we would roll 3d6, we would add 3, and we'd add 1 from his acrobatics against the target number we'd previously determined. So we've rolled 12 there. His plus 4 makes it 16. So any tasks with a target number of 16, he's succeeded. Anything with a target number of higher, he's failed. Initiative. Now, initiative is based on your mental stat. So, Jotaro here has a mental of 3. His mother, Mariko, has a mental stat of 4. So she goes before him in any combat rounds. Now, in the event of a tie, you each roll a d6, and whoever rolls the highest goes first. It's as simple as that. The one thing to bear in mind about combat round, though, is each combat round is made of 4 phases, and everybody gets to act once in each phase. Now, normally, combat phases in any other system would be just a combat round. But in the Fuzion system, in Usagi Yojimbo, something happens each combat round, so every 4 phases, which is you get to heal back a certain amount of your hits. Now, we'll deal with that in the health section, but it's worth minding that you get a phase which you do everything which would normally in a combat round, but every 4 phases there's a round and something happens in there. Now, in combat, it's one of the elements of Usagi Yojimbo which is quite interesting, because you have 3 strategies to choose from. You can choose from a total attack, where you throw yourself all into the attacking, a cautious attack, where you're holding back a little bit, and a total defense, where you're holding back completely and defending yourself. Now, the outcomes are like rock, paper, scissors. So, in a total attack versus a total attack, you are rolling your attacks, but whoever gets the greatest score gets double damage. A total attack versus a total defense, the attack is so huge and obvious that it's easy to dodge. The defender dodges it. You don't need to do anything further. Total attack versus a cautious attack. Total attack will overpower the partial defense of a cautious attack. The character using the total attack gets the higher score, he or she does damage. If the character using cautious attack gets the higher score, no one does any damage. Cautious attack versus cautious attack, you roll the attacks as normal, whoever gets higher does damage. Cautious attack versus total defense. Cautious attack is the only thing that can get through a total defense. This is because a series of short testing attacks have a chance to find a weakness in the defense, while a total attack puts everything behind one blow. Now, depending on the outcome and how you're rolling for them, you then need to roll your skills. Now, using Tomo here as one of better combatants, because using a child or his mother as a fighter probably isn't fair, she has a combat skill of 6 and a kenjutsu of 8. So she gets to add 14 to whatever she rolls on a 3d6. So we roll 3d6, and we get a pretty terrible roll here of 5, but we add 14, so she gets 19. The attacker then gets to roll theirs, and whoever gets the higher, depending on the results from the various types of attack, whether being in total or cautious attacks, gets to do damage. Now, for damage in Usagi Yojimbo, it's based on 2 things: the character's physical stat and the damage of the weapon. But these are both maximum damages. So, if we look at a weapon, let's look at the character first. So, Tamari has a physical of 4, which makes the maximum damage she can do 4. It doesn't list the weapons she carries, but we can guess she carries a katana. So her strength allows her to do 4. Flipping over to page 52, we can see that katana also does 4. However, if she was wielding an axe, it only does damage 2. So her strength of 4 would kind of be wasted. But because she's wielding a katana, we've said she's got a strength of 4. She's rolling 4 dice for damage. So she rolls 14 there, and she does 14 damage. Now, armor in the game is treated as very clunky, and people are unlikely to wear it. It's got various disadvantages to putting it on, the time it takes, the disadvantages it gives you physically, but in the game, if you are wearing the armor, then it takes 12 points of damage away. So what do those 14 points of damage actually mean? Well, flipping back to Tomo, we can see she has 20 hit points. So 14 points off that will take her down to 6 hit points left. Now, remembering if she'd done an all-out attack and the opponent had done an all-out attack and she'd lost, she'd be getting double damage. So she'd be taking 28. And in the system, reduction to 0 hit points is death. You're dead. That's as simple as it is. There is no buffer area or whatever. If you take damage and you're reduced to 0 hit points, you die. The only option apart from this is if the weapons are stunned, in which case you're reduced to 0 and you're unconscious, but any further damage after that will kill you. Once you're on the ground stunned, any further damage kills you. Now, I mentioned that every round, so every 4 phases, you manage to heal. Because every round, you heal back up to twice your physical in hits. So if you can avoid being damaged until the end of the round, the end of the 4 phases, you'll heal back double physical hit points, and you might be back in the fight and last. And that's very much how combat is in Usagi Yojimbo, that you heal up fairly rapidly as well as taking damage very easily. And advancement is handled through experience points, as detailed on page 1819 here. It details how you get them, study and practice, finding a teacher, school of life, role-playing, all give you awards. Buying stuff with your points is listed here. So to buy up a skill, it costs 1 point for each level of the new skill. To increase a skill from 3 to 4 points costs 4 points. To increase a skill from 7 to 8 costs 8 points. And so on. Simple enough. To buy characteristics up, it costs you 5 points for every point of characteristic improvement. So to improve a physical stat from 5 to 6 costs you 5 points. But to increase it from 9 to 10 also just costs 5 points. And buying new special abilities. 20 points to obtain a new special ability plus the GM's permission. And so that is the Fuzion system as used by the Usagi Yojimbo Roleplaying Game, the 1997 version. Now, I do quite like the rock, paper, scissors type combat system. I can see most people would go for cautious attacks most of the time, as that's playing it safe. Risking an all-out attack to do, or stand the chance of doing double damage, is also to risk receiving that double damage. And double damage can kill your character very quickly in the game. But apart from that, the Fuzion system is really simple. It's quite a fast system, and it can be a load of fun. But as always, I think I've whittled on for quite long enough, especially about a game this old and this obscure. So thank you very, very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment below, as it does me massive favours with the YouTube algorithm. But as always, most of all, look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.